Did I just rescue a life, or did I pick up a piece of myself I'd forgotten existed? It was lying there, still, soaked, and ignored like a stain no one wanted to deal with. No cry for help, no resistance. Just a fragile breath, like it hadn't yet decided if living was worth it. Why did I stop? Out of everyone who passed by, why me? I didn't pick it up out of kindness. Maybe it was recognition. I knew that feeling, being small, forgotten, and left to fade in the cold. The real question haunted me as I held that weightless body in my hands. If I walked away, would I have been walking away from the last part of me still trying to survive? It rained heavily last night. There was a little kitten lying on the roadside. Later, it grew more and more beautiful. Hook. I thought I was just rescuing a kitten from the rain. I didn't know he'd end up saving me too. It was just an ordinary morning. The kind where the sky still looked half asleep and the streets shimmered faintly with rain from the storm the night before. I was heading home after running a few errands, tugging my coat tighter around me, when something caught the corner of my eye near the side of the road. At first, I thought it was just a crumpled leaf or maybe a wet rag blown in by the wind. I would have passed it by, just like everyone else. But it moved, barely, a twitch, like a breath fighting not to be forgotten. I stepped closer and stopped in my tracks. A kitten, tiny, drenched, curled into a trembling ball no larger than my palm. His fur clung to his skin like paper, his little ribs faintly visible beneath the wetness. His eyes were just beginning to open, cloudy and blinking against the light. There were no other kittens nearby, no mother in sight. Just him, lying on the cold concrete while the world kept rushing past. I crouched down, instinctively shielding him from the wind. He didn't flinch, didn't cry. He just lay there, too weak to even be afraid. In that moment, something inside me shifted, quietly but profoundly. I couldn't leave him, so I didn't. I found an old cardboard box in a nearby recycling bin, lined it with a scarf I'd been wearing, and gently placed him inside. His body was so light it felt like lifting a handful of feathers. At home, I wrapped him in the softest towel I owned and set a hot water bottle nearby. He still didn't move much, but his breathing became more even. That first night, I sat by his side like a new parent. I kept checking to see if he was still breathing, still warm, still here. I was terrified he wouldn't make it through the night. The first days. The next morning, I rushed to the nearest pet store. The staff took one look at him and said, "He's a newborn. Maybe a week old, if that. Needs kitten formula. And warmth. Constant care." I bought everything they recommended: kitten milk replacer, tiny bottles, a heating pad, and a syringe in case he couldn't latch. When I got home, I prepared the milk and held him gently, trying to feed him. At first, he turned away, confused and weak. I could tell the taste was foreign. Not his mother's milk. Not what he wanted. But eventually, hunger overcame hesitation. He took a slow, cautious sip, then another, and another, until his tiny belly looked slightly rounder. That night, I didn't sleep again. I set alarms to feed him every 2 hours. I kept the room warm. I Googled how to help kittens relieve themselves because newborns can't do that on their own. So I massaged his tiny belly after every meal, wiping him clean with a warm cloth, whispering encouragement like he could understand. He was so fragile, but alive. And for me, that was enough. The first week. By the third day, there was a noticeable change. His body felt warmer, stronger. He moved with more purpose. He tried to stand, his wobbly legs buckling beneath him, but he didn't give up. Every little milestone felt like a miracle. He began crawling toward the sound of my voice. He'd nuzzle into the curve of my hand, curl up in my hoodie, and fall asleep listening to my heartbeat. When he began chewing on my fingers with his soft, toothless gums, I laughed out loud. That tiny, silly bite filled my heart more than words could say. Every morning, I weighed him like he was the most precious thing in the world. Every extra gram felt like hope. He chose his name. One afternoon, when he seemed strong enough to play, I wrote down 4 names on slips of paper. I placed them in front of him and watched, curious. He sniffed each one with growing confidence. Then he plopped himself down on one like it was destiny. That was the name I gave him. It felt like he chose it himself. From that moment, he wasn't just a kitten anymore. He was someone. He had a name. He had a place. He had me. Days turned into weeks. By day 20, he was over 300 grams and his first little teeth were poking through. I introduced soft food. He didn't trust it at first. He circled the bowl like it might attack him, then looked at me as if asking permission. When he finally took a cautious lick, he paused, surprised, then devoured the rest like it was the best thing he'd ever tasted. His growth was fast. Every day he became more mischievous. He'd chase his own tail, pounce on my socks, and once tried to climb the curtains. He followed me into every room, his little paws pattering behind me like I was the only star in his sky. When I cooked, he'd sit and watch like a tiny chef in training. He even discovered my secret stash of canned tuna and meowed indignantly until I shared. He was curious, bold, affectionate, and absolutely fearless. A tiny soul with a big impact. He doesn't know it, but he saved me too. Before him, my days blurred together in silence and routine. But now I had purpose. A reason to wake up early. A reason to smile at the smallest things. A reason to laugh when I'd forgotten how. When I watched him sleep, his tiny chest rising and falling with each breath, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace, love, fulfillment. His paw, no bigger than a coin, would sometimes rest against my hand as if to say, "I'm here." And I'd whisper back, "So am I. Please don't look away." He was just one kitten, one life out of thousands left behind by chance, by cruelty, or by misfortune. But to me, he was everything. So, if you ever see a tiny body trembling by the road, don't look away. If you hear a cry in the alley or spot eyes peeking from a bush, don't walk past. You don't have to save them all. But for the one you choose to save, you become their whole world, their warmth, their protector, their second chance. Because real love doesn't always come planned. Sometimes it's found in a soggy cardboard box. Sometimes it weighs less than a bottle of milk. But it's no less real in a world that often forgets to care. Be the person who remembers. Because the smallest kindness can become the biggest miracle. And sometimes, just sometimes, you don't rescue them. They rescue you.